بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to this discussion of stranger's perspective. And in this discussion, inshallah, we are going to be talking about discipline. So it's just a random discussion. And we hope to learn one or two things from each other. And may Allah put barakah in the discussion. So Bismillah, let's get started. So what is discipline? What is discipline generally? I think discipline is just an attribute somehow. I don't really know the official definition of discipline. But to me though, I feel discipline is just an attribute someone can develop that can help their daily dealings, and it can help them become better on the long run and on the short run as well. I think discipline has something to do with consistency in a way. And then if someone is disciplined, I think one way to look at it, or one way that I usually look at discipline for myself, is if I'm able to be consistent with something. And then the consistency maybe on the long run helps me to yield better results or consistent results from that thing that I'm consistent in doing. So that's like usually what I usually think about when I think about discipline. So an example of that is maybe me like writing a journal, for maybe a period of 30 days without breaking it. I mean, I can define that as being disciplined for the period of that 30 days, or me not missing Salatul Fajr in Jama for like a whole year, that kind of thing. I think in a way that can be termed as discipline, but that's just like my own view. So I'm going to call on Abdullah to just, give you a background on what he thinks about discipline, and just share some little random things about that. So Abdullah, Bismillah.
I thought we were going to arrange it the way we appear on screen. It's like Tyler is next to you, then I'm next to Hassan.
Hassan said he won't be available for 5 minutes. So that's just
okay. I don't know why I can hear myself back. Is that a problem I'm only facing? Anyway,
I think you're the one that problem.
So I think about discipline in two ways. You mentioned one already, which is persistency or consistency, to be persistent on something. And the other one is personality. So I don't know if the right word is personality, but what I mean essentially is that being disciplined about something is like following the rules and regulations and manners and etiquette of something. So, like, for example, you can say this person is a disciplined Muslim. That means he follows like the regulations of Islam, right? The rules, the do's, and he stays away from the don'ts. So you can say he's a disciplined student. That means he goes to class as he's supposed to. He studies for exam, he studies for tests, and he does well in the stuff he does. So I say it like one way to think about it is you're following the rules, the regulations properly, the right manners, the right etiquettes. So that's one. And the other one is what you mentioned, which I'll just reiterate, is to be persistent on something, to be consistent, do something consistently. So because that's just the way you can become professional at something, or the way something can really be very valuable to you is if you can do it often and often and often, to the point that it gets like part of you. It's not like a big deal again. Say for instance, you mentioned praying Fajr, right? So if you can make up the habit of waking up 5 a.m. every day, get ready for Fajr, go and pray Fajr by 5:30 if that's the time of Fajr on your own side, and you can do that consistently to the point that it's not like a big deal for you to wake up again. And even if you don't want to wake up, if you are so tired, somehow you just find yourself out by 5 o'clock, or worst case scenario towards that time of Fajr. So yeah, those are the two ways I think about discipline.
Oh, mashallah. I think I didn't remember, or I didn't even think about the second part that you mentioned, which is also quite important in defining discipline, right? So I think one way, like from those two definitions, one of them is like self. One of them is self-implemented, right? Like the one of me going to Fajr every morning and for a long time. I think that's supposed to be like a self kind of thing. Although I know in some cases it can be forced upon other people, right? Like maybe it can be forced from a father on a kid and things like that. But I think usually it's still for the kid to be really disciplined. Like not like when the father is not around, the kid will not go to the masjid, right? I think for the kid to be really disciplined, it has to be a self stuff, like self development kind of thing. And the other one is usually from another person too. Is usually from another person trying to push it on someone else. Like maybe you want to discipline a child for misbehaving or something. Yeah, so I think I'm just trying to give it
So
another
even
perspective
the first one, like you said it could be like causative. It could be like father trying to make his child to be disciplined in something, to be consistent. If you actually look at that, a parent doing it on a kid, on a son or on their son or daughter is because they are not at that level to be able to distinguish right from wrong necessarily. I know if you get. So they are training them so that when they get to that, for example, puberty stage, when they are getting to that extent of actually knowing what is right or wrong, they want them to be what do you call that? Self-sufficient in terms of discipline. You get me? So like the end result is not like so that they will be forced to do it forever. The end result is that they want to prepare them for that level of self-discipline, so that when they get to when they are supposed to be self-disciplined, they will not have problem, trying to find their feet anymore. They would have been used to it right from childhood. So just to reiterate the point that it's self stuff. It's something that you have to do.
Yeah, but I think from my experience, something is usually missing in that part, right? I think many times parents don't really explain the reason why they are doing those things to the kids. And I'm sure you must have seen this too. That a lot of Muslim students, a lot of Muslim kids that we probably knew that when we were growing up, we used to go to masjid together, we used to do things stuff, and you just look at some of them today and be like, subhanallah, and things like that. I mean, I think sometimes the discipline, something gets missed out in the discipline, which is like making the child really understand the reason why they are being disciplined. And okay, this is the reason why you should pray Salah. This is the beauty of Salah. Allah is Al-Ghafur Rahim. Allah is Ar-Rahman Rahim, right? Allah is Ar-Razak. Like those positive things should be the things that should be used to encourage the children. Right? Not like Allah, if you don't pray, you enter fire. You understand those things? I feel
absolutely.
Those things should not be missing in discipline.
I agree 100%. Okay, something.
My take is that number one, discipline from the perspective that we started it is not necessarily what you guys are discussing now. I just want to make it very, very clear, because discipline from what I would have expected is that it's more of a one person thing that can be learned, that can be taught, but not necessarily in the regards of parents.
We are getting there.
Correction.
That was just side point. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I think it was just side point, even though we are like getting too much into it. But it was just side point. Like at times, it starts from cradle, right? Like it starts from when you are growing up. You don't just grow up. So you get to that stage of life where some people try to make you disciplined. But yeah, I agree with what I was saying. What I would just add to what Ibrahim was going to explain is that the why is that's just what Ibrahim is trying to explain. The why. Even if you want to be self-disciplined yourself, if you don't know the why of what you're doing, it's not going to work. It's going to be very difficult. So you really need to know, okay, I want to wake up for Friday. Why do I want to do it? Is it because everyone else is doing it, or is it because I need to do this thing to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You get, so the
No,
why is very important. So whether someone is trying to help you with it or you're trying to do it yourself,
exactly.
there has to be
No,
a genuine reason. So the question is question of why. So just to get out there.
exactly.
All
That
right. So
makes
let me
that
give
makes a
my
lot of
own.
sense.
Let me give my definition of discipline. Basically, I think, and this is what this will be very very generic as much as possible. Discipline, from basically what I see, yes, all of you have been going into the good ones. I think discipline is non. It's like an adjective, if you get me from a perspective. Like you can be disciplined, you can be a disciplined bad person, you can be a disciplined good person. Really. So I would link discipline to the ability to keep doing some things, keep doing it for whatever reason you want to do it. Yes, in a good context, you will say, okay, a disciplined man. You can also say a disciplined villain. You can say a disciplined bad person, a disciplined boss, if you understand what I mean. So that's just like paying just one thing that came to mind. And I think like you all said, you have a point with regards to that. There is consistency, doggedness, all of those things they build discipline. And that's because discipline is not just necessarily something that you learn in a day, not something that you become, something that you do. Some of us, if you don't pray, something will be telling you your body, as coach, you're going to do now. Like it's almost
That's
supposed to be
because you
kind
are
of,
disciplined.
yeah, that's
That's
because you are
because you are
disciplined.
disciplined.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
some people, if they have not taken that their trophy, what's going on? That's also disciplined trophy drinking. So
Mhm.
may Allah help us in that regard. So that's
One
just
thing I
I
want
think
to mention though is
uh,
that I think we should get away from these preambles and actually get into why you need to be disciplined, right? And what are the benefits
No,
that comes from being disciplined. So reason being that a lot of people think what they need to actually take the next step in life is motivation. So a lot of people need like they need someone, they need to bring a lot of YouTube videos on some motivational speakers. I'm not like negating that these things can be useful at times. So but at times it's not really, people get it wrong. People think you just have to sit down, read motivational words, read books. They have their benefits. But what I'm trying to say in essence is that it's not all about that. You don't necessarily need someone to motivate you. So Ibrahim once mentioned the power of small habits. He mentioned a book about that. So if you want to become a good coder, for example, you don't become a good coder by going to watch some motivational guys on YouTube that will tell you to go and start a code, and you do that today, next week, next 2 weeks. No, even if you don't watch any motivational, just ask Taiwo, for example. Oh, you are coding. Where do you go? Oh, I work in this way. How much do you know? That's enough motivation, to be honest. You don't need to go and read lots of book again. So just start if you really want to do it, right? So code 1 hour, start from maybe let's say 30 minutes in a day. After 30 minutes, you do it for 1 week, it becomes natural to you, right? Just like you mentioned, the aspect of solar, the way we feel so on okay, so not okay if we have not read. So it becomes a part of you. You can increase to 1 hour, then you can increase. Then at the end of the day, if I wake up one day now, even though I don't like coding so much, but if I'm not really written some code in a work day, like we do Monday to Friday, it feels weird. Like what's going on with me? Am I wasting time? I start to think of what am I doing with my life? Whether I'm coding for my company, I'm learning something new. So you get used to it. So it's not from loads of motivations or from loads of books that you've read and stuff like that.
yeah, I think I agree with that a lot. I think that would come from it's I still think it's social media, sha. Social media gives this
Mm-hmm.
impression of a one-off adrenaline pump, and then it leaves you alone for the rest. It is
Mm.
very very safe to say that the bulk of people that are successful in anything that they are successful at, is it somebody that memorized the Quran? Is it someone that memorized the Sahih Bukhari? Is this somebody that knows Arabiya? Is it somebody that knows how to walk well? Is it somebody that knows how to say Fune, what's going, how are you going? Those things are not things that you learn in a day. And then a aspire to perspire to aspire Maguire will not get you there. Never. So like I'm very very happy with the point that you made, that it is not, a lot of people think it's motivation that they need. Unfortunately, it's more of discipline and consistency that they need. I will not say motivation is lost, because there are sometimes, as per human
Yeah.
beings, we also lose some drive, and we need some of those aspire to Maguire to push us back. But I think that is just like 5% over 95%. There's this adage that says, give a goat a billion years, it's going to speak English. In fact, to speak French, it will speak Yoruba self. Like 1 million years. So that consistency of learning or of doing Salah or of memorizing the Quran, very, very important. Which is now where I want to link it to what Ibrahim said. Ibrahim is just full of confirm stuff today. He said something about the fact that we have to know. Abi is even Abdullah. Both of you are super cool. We have to know the reason why we are doing some things. So, like
No.
those, for example, now when you are a guy that you have money, you want to do Sodako. Consistent Sodako is also part of this. So it's not one of like, they are
Yeah.
giving it, don't give it. Keep giving it. If it's 30 naira in the mosque, keep giving. That's why I respect those old people that even if it's 20 naira, they will drop it. And there's this hadith of
Yeah.
the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says Allah loves deeds that are
Small and
that are
consistent.
consistent, small and
The best
consistent.
deeds to Allah, actually the best. That's the funniest thing. The best deeds to Allah
Yes.
are the
Yeah.
are the ones that you do consistently, even if they are small.
Even if they
Yeah.
are small.
So it goes back to that aspect of Sadaqah that you just mentioned. A lot of people
Yeah.
think when they will start doing Sadaqah when they start earning 100,000 or 500,000 or 1 million. So right now they are seeing 2,000 one way or the other. But it's difficult for you to bring out 10 naira for here consistently, every day. To bring out 10 naira or 20 naira consistently every day. And you think when you get 100,000, that's you are waiting for that motivation, which is the 100k or 500k. But you need to like get to it, start doing something, do it consistently. So when you have that big money, it will not be so special to you that I've been doing this thing. What's the big deal? It brings confidence, even in work too. If you do something consistently, you've done it so much that yourself comes like, bring it, there is no big deal, figure it out. Because you would have gotten so good at it.
Yeah, that is why me right now I'm learning a lot because I'm at this point of my life. I'm just saying bullshit outside. I'm consistently dropping bullshit outside. Everybody just laughs at me.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn. And
do you know the funniest thing? Even if you are saying bullshit, do you know there are two different between there's difference between knowing something and being able to use it. You are saying it carefully, you just want to be good at it, right? The funniest thing is someone that knows it better than you might not be able to articulate himself outside.
Yeah.
And you that you say bullshit, you say it out of confidence. It feels like all these kids that grow up in an area that they speak English.
Yeah.
Let's say in Lagos environment, they don't know grammar. They speak a lot of blunders, but they are so confident, and they are fluent. Well, you that you mastered, everyone in English and everything. You are just stammering. So
yeah, very, 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 very true. So I think like what I wanted to even point out was that you said something about knowing why we do things, which is why I will just take a quick detour to what you said before about disciplining a child and all of those stuff like that. I think knowing why we do things will give us those motivation that we need to keep going. If you have 2,000 naira today, you want to put 10 naira out. You know that 10 naira, I can use it to buy sweet or something. But you know that Allah has promised that when you give 10 naira, He's going to give you multiple of that, and also Fijana that will have a lot of things that we're able to get, and all of those things. Those are the motivation that you need. No aspire to perspire. And if you think those ones are not working enough, go on YouTube. There is a lot of them there. But
so I'm going to hijack the conversation from here.
the consistency is what you need.
Exactly. Impatient, important stuff. So I'm just going to add like a few more things. So the first thing I'm going to add is a quote from Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee said, as I've seen online, he said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." So do you get the difference? So someone who has practiced one kick 10,000 times is like someone who has mastered one single skill and has done it several times, that they can almost close their eyes and do that skill, right? And someone is like jack of all trade kind of thing, right? So somebody that is doing everything, is doing design, is doing electronics, is doing programming, is doing Bitcoin, is doing everything. You find that person everywhere. At the end of the day, you find that the person does not really have like impact in all those areas, right? So like someone I'm not certain. It's kind of really, you can't really compare that person with someone.
For most people at least, some people might be special, but for most people,
Yeah, or for an average person,
Yeah,
it can't be compared with someone who just focuses in one area and is making
yeah.
like significant impact in that area. You understand? So
Mm.
that person will definitely be known as an expert in that field at some point in time because that person just keeps dropping stuff about that one thing, that one thing, that one thing. There are special people, yeah, maybe someone like Elon Musk who is just crazy.
Or someone like Taiwo.
I mean, it's
All the
something else.
best.
And Hassan too is mini
All the
Elon Musk at
best.
this place.
All the best. I
And
think
another thing I
I
want to mention is
okay.
there was this motivational speaker that I can't remember his name. I think he's a South African. I can't remember his name. So there was this particular video that I was watching. So he was saying in that video that the reason why they invite him to that particular place every year is because people never really change every year. And even though he motivates them every single year, they still invite him every single year to come and say the same thing. And that's how he make his money because people never really change. And that's the thing about motivation, right? Motivation is just like we said. I don't know if we mentioned this earlier. Motivation is supposed to get someone started. It's not like it will keep you going, right? And you know that feeling when you listen to a motivational speaker, you feel like, yes, this is the moment. I can, I can build it. I can climb a skyscraper. You know the way you feel. That feeling is it's just an instantaneous feeling, right? It's just an instantaneous feeling. It's not continuous, and that's a very significant problem. It's like a Dirac delta function. Let me go mathematical a little bit. It's just a how do I call it? You know this Bitcoin kind of thing. When Bitcoin goes up for that moment in time and then drops back to the normal level. So I think it's just that kind of thing that motivation creates, and then the
You know,
discipline is now
speaking of
where the discipline is now what
speaking
is
of
to keep that thing going right. Yeah.
yeah, that's like okay, I don't want to go too physics too. So that's like remember this thing that we used to do in secondary school, like acceleration, then constant velocity, then
Exactly.
deceleration back. Do you remember that? So it's something like that. Sometimes we need motivation, even though from my own
Yeah.
perspective, to be honest. I don't think the best motivation are the motivation that someone will just be shouting at you, you can do it, you have to start, you have to me. I don't really think those are the good motivation, to be honest. I think the best motivation are success stories from my own perspective. From my own perspective.
Okay.
I don't think the motivation as someone that just shouts, I just talk this and just talk random stuff, repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So I think the best motivation are success stories. You see your friend, when you
Simon.
were not serious, he was grinding hard, even though he did not have so much privilege too. He was just like you, he was grinding hard, and you see the results. Then you talk to him. That kind of person can motivate you. That's like
Uh,
what I see as the best motivation. So that's just by the way, success stories. So then motivation
Relating
versus
to success
discipline, like you
stories.
said. Yeah. So motivation versus discipline, like you said, is just like acceleration. At times when you are down, you need something to, accelerate you back. So but once you
Yeah.
accelerate, the motivation will drop you. Concern him again. If you like listen to motivation every morning, I don't really think that's much effect. It's just in your mind, it feels like it's doing something. You don't know, like all those kind of coincidence stuff that you do something you think is the result of what you did that is happening, right?
There's there's a market
So
for that actually. There's a market for
yeah,
that.
so you listen to motivation every single morning because that's what some people do on YouTube, for example. I'm not like castigating what they do, right? So, but that's what some people do on YouTube. So, and that's how they make money. Not motivation every morning. So, but the motivation every morning is not for the same people to come and listen to. It's for the person that need that motivation that morning, right? So you just need motivation to start. Then you have to be disciplined. You just have to, keep at it. And when you fall back, because we can't be, we can't be disciplined forever. There are sometimes that you feel burned out, and at times you might need motivation to come up back, and you get back to discipline. So you have to know how to guide between these two. Personally, I don't fall for motivation so much. I just go for success stories. Those are what my those are my own motivations, and what I have in what I plan for my future, where I pray that I'll be. So those are the greatest motivation for me. I don't really fancy.
Yeah.
So
That's
let me
not
just
so
take
far.
back from that point. So I think this will take me to this the point I learned in a book, right? So there was this book I read. I've mentioned the book before, right? Name of the book is Atomic Habits. So there was this thing that the writer said, James Clear. He said something about the difference between goals and systems. So this is going to bring me into that a little bit. It may not be like directly related, but I think we can link motivation and discipline to this. So the difference between goals and system is, I think we can liken it to the difference between motivation and discipline, right? So your goal is like, okay, this is where I want to be, right? And that is the kind of thing you get from motivation. Like, okay, you can do this, you are able to do this, you are able to do this. But your system is that thing that keeps you, that helps you to be consistent. So it's something that, you develop a system that helps you to do exercise every morning, and then it's almost like building a habit, kind of. Yeah, I think that's what your system helps you to do, that your goals may not really be able to help you to do. Goal is just like, okay, I want to have 5 million, right? But if you don't really develop a system that will help you get 5 million, which is almost like saying, if you don't discipline yourself enough to help you get that stuff you want, right, you will not really get it at the end of the day. And even if you get it, you can drop afterwards, because your goal was just the goal, right? And you were not really building a habit along the way. For example, the guy gave in the book was like, let's say you have a goal of going to a marathon and winning a marathon, and you practice for the next, let's say the marathon is in 6 months, you practice for the next 6 months, and then you practice, and then 6 months come, you go to the marathon, maybe you win the marathon, and afterwards you stop practicing, right? You stop doing exercise. So what happens? Your body goes back to the normal state. So that's like the difference between a goal and a system. A system is, let's say you have the marathon, right? So you actually now build a habit of maybe that morning routine of doing exercise or practicing. And even after the marathon ends, you don't allow your body doesn't go back into the default state of not developing itself or not putting itself in a good state. Right? So it continuously does that thing because you have built the habit, and it was beyond the goal, right? It was not just about the goal. I mean, it was not about building a habit along the line that would help you achieve that goal and beyond. So I think in a way it can be related to goals, and it can be related to discipline and motivation. Motivation is just that instantaneous stuff that, okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, and then you do it, what happens?
One way that we can reconcile between what you mentioned, motivation, goal, and discipline is I don't know if you guys think we should jump into this. Is that how do you stay motivated? Like individually, what do we do? I know like none of us is perfect. None of us is like close to where we even want to be in terms of either success or motivation or whatever. So, but it would be nice to actually hear from us. What are things that you like to stay motivated on? You can mention example, maybe 3 things, and how do you do it? I mean, like a real life example.
Oh, do you know motivation or discipline?
I mean, like in a way, you can be able to relate discipline and goal together. So that's why I said, what are the things that you like to stay motivated? You like to stay disciplined. There are some things that we just do it randomly, but there are some things that you want to be disciplined about it. Then how do you go about doing that? And what net positive have you seen from it?
Yeah, so let me go in that regard. Maybe then Ibrahim will go. So what I had in mind before was even to talk about how to stay disciplined, like what to do to stay this. But this is a great way to even enter.
Yeah, we can't really say how to stay disciplined because we are not perfect with that. So, but we say how we do it. So.
Yeah. So personally, I think one of the alhamdulillah, I think one of the things that I've gotten very, very disciplined with these days, alhamdulillah, is normally when I recite the Quran, I would usually recite the Quran alone, like just recite it. Except but once in a while, I want to know the meaning of this ayah, this surah, go and read it. But since like a month or like 1 month and a half ago, I started cultivating this way of recitation / reading. That I have my normal recitation that I will read, and then I have my normal reading that is just read tafsir. And the way I did it is that every morning I will always check it out. And alhamdulillah, I think this is a little bit because the Quran is a perfect book. It's not like every other book. It literally gives you that motivation by itself. That's one thing. Number two, also being among the people that are relatively have the same kind of psyche as you. It does a lot of things. So I might not be able to list three of them, but I think this one is a little bit all encompassing. For example, if okay, we are talking, we'll be talking. Okay, maybe Ibrahim just says, this ayah of the Quran, where is it? Just sends it. And then, what is the context? Where is it coming from? Where is it going to? Read the tafsir, you read something else. And then, consistently like that, I have this drive that, I want to reach there. And I know that it's not something that I just get there in tomorrow. So, early in the morning, before I become lazy for the day, I quickly check all of my, read the Quran, also read the translation, read the tafsir. So that is one of them. The second one that I mentioned is that being with people that have very, very similar minded goals, which is why I think there is this hadith of the Prophet that says that you should walk. I think it's the ayah of the Quran that you walk with what good people. Well, the king. I don't really remember.
Or the king.
So the king. So if you work with people that are good people, you are going to become good by default. When you work with people that are bad people, you can't help it. If you are not bad people, if you don't become a bad person, you're going to spell like a bad person. So I think generally, without pointing hand at a particular thing, okay, I can remember that one. You should also try to do something. The third thing that I will mention about a goal that I had, that is that I wanted to become a very, very networking-ish person. I think at the start of 2020, I was not really, really very, very out there. Alhamdulillah, I made up my mind that, okay, every question that anybody asks on this platform, if I can answer it, I will try to. Even if I can't even answer it, I will even ask for clarification. And I'll put myself out there. And alhamdulillah, well, sometimes when this imposter syndrome slash, you don't even know what you are saying, sets in, the way you just, bro, nobody knows what they are saying. Please put yourself out there. So basically, that is the way me I've really, really been able to do it.
Yeah. So you mentioned networking. Like you want to go your networking, like put yourself out there. And we mentioned Quran, being disciplined with Quran.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest things to be disciplined with. And you mentioned one of the ways that you do it is to make sure you have kind of like people that you mentioned like the companions that you are with, so people that can do check and balance for you. I think that's like one major thing that you mentioned. Cool. Can we have from Ibrahim too?
I don't know.
I think if you can keep it as short as possible, 5 minutes.
I don't really know what to say right now. I think for some
Or should I go first?
I've not really been super disciplined. Yeah, I think you should go first. I don't really have anything to say about that right now.
Yeah, personally too, I've not been super disciplined. Wallah, that's just a fact. So, but I can say that I've been disciplined with one or two things right recently. Some I've learned from. Some I was like over disciplined, right? And it has affected me. So it's like you go hard, then you go. So, one of them is I want to mention the Quran first because it's the most important, but I'll come back to it so that I can. It can be like the last thing I will stick to it, right? So one of them is exercise. So ever since I started working remote, my commute, like working commute, how do I say that? Like trekking and stuff, it has reduced. Going out has reduced. A lot of things have reduced, and it's not so good for body to not be exercising. Again, walking and doing all this kind of stuff, even mixing with people. So one of those things I've tried to like stay really disciplined with is my exercise. So when I started initially, I was doing like every day. I was using one app like that, which is like home exercise. So it takes like 30 minutes. So I was doing it every day. I was able to do it for like 1 month. But what I noticed is eventually I got tired and I got worn out. Right. So, but I get to realize every day is kind of too much. It's not like I'm trying to build muscle personally. So I'm just trying to do exercise. So it depends on each person's goal. For me, I want to like do exercise. So I think that's one thing that I should start small. That's the lesson I want to pick up from there. So always don't jump to the biggest thing. So if you come with for example, you want to memorize Quran or you want to study Quran, you don't start from memorizing 5 pages per day unless you are super genius. So if you do 1, 2 days or 3 days, the funniest thing is it would even kick back at you that your Moja will be so difficult and you eventually go out, you go. So if you start small, then you can develop your habits eventually. So then another thing that I kind of learned from that is that I FOMOed on time, so to say. So I feel like if I can do a lot of exercise in 1 month, I can have like crazy net effects. I can come out with so much physical and stuff. And even if you are after muscle and body and all those kind of stuff, people that are like that, they didn't do it in 1 month or 2 months. So it's like result of their consistent grinding day in day out for years or 1 year, 2 year. So another thing that I would say from that is to be realistic with your goals. Right? A lot of people tend to set daily goals. So if not that, it's really important. To me, I don't really see daily goals as something that's attainable unless except for specific things. Yeah, it's easier to say I will do these things. I'll make sure I complete this thing every week than to say I'll make sure I do it every day. Right? Unless it's like something that takes 5-10 minutes. So if I set weekly goals, if I miss it on Monday, I'll try and grind on Tuesday. If I miss it on Tuesday, I'll try and grind on Wednesday. So I think for most things, it's easy to set weekly goals. So what I do now is I make sure I do exercise 3 times a week. Right? I try to utilize my weekend, then I find another day in the week. If my weekend fail, I'll find 2 days in the week. So it's easy to to not be overwhelmed every day. Oh, I missed my exercise today. Then something comes and it was difficult today. I say, I missed my exercise today again. No, I'll be so unhappy, right? But if this week I just say, I have another 4 days, then I'll try to grind out. So then the Quran part, let me just get to that Taiwo mentioned. So I learned this from my Ustav. Even the way it's structured, like our memorization, you memorize 1 page every day, Monday to Friday. On Saturday, you do the revision of the 5 pages that you memorized. On Sunday, you do the revision of that 5 pages, and the last week 5 page. So even though I've not been very consistent, but alhamdulillah, if you can really keep to that kind of stuff, right, you would come out good than just responding to your impulse. Just feel like, I need to, you watch a status and you see one small boy reciting Quran with great salt, voice, and like, subhanallah, I need to memorize Quran too. Then you got a guy Quran, memorize 3 pages. You did today, you did tomorrow, then the third day, you don't vanish. So, you will not build this habit, and eventually you might never be able to memorize Quran finish. And even if you do, it will be very poor, right? If someone tests you, you just be making mistakes here and there. So I think you should. What I will mention is understanding what you are doing too. I think for the aspect of Quran, so it's easier to like memorize Quran or study Quran or read Quran every day if you are studying the meaning along with it. So if you are reading something that you don't understand, even though it has the word in part of Quran, but you're not really, you might not be so committed to it. But if you understand it when you read it, you are so emotionally, involved and stuff. So yeah, that's just it for me, to be honest. I'm coding for time, so.
MashaAllah, I think we've said a lot, alhamdulillah. That'll make it beneficial for every single one of us and whoever is also listening to this. I think we can just, we've actually done the concluding statement, so I don't think there's any other thing to conclude on.
One thing that I think we should do, do you think it's a good idea? I like that we brought out the issue of Quran here because even though this podcast is meant to be like for everybody, but at times we can have special topics for Muslims too, to be honest. So do you think we should bring like an Hafiz or someone that, an Hafiz, on the podcast, maybe 2 or 3, and actually interview them how they be consistent with Quran? So it's one thing to memorize Quran, and that thing, Quran is like work life. It's like life task, so to say, life work.
Yeah.
So if you memorize it, finish, you have to keep doing Muwaja till the end of time, till you like you die. So if you stop for
memorizing is very difficult.
Kind of go. Yeah. So and even if you do it at a very young age, memorizing is very simple. Right? If you do it at a very young age, memorizing is because Allah has made it easy like that. You can't memorize anything like that. But to stay consistent in the Muwaja and the revision is what the issue is. So I think it's what a lot of Muslims need. A lot of Muslims really want to do it. I don't know if you've noticed that. So you see a lot of Muslims posting someone excited, and they want to do it, but they feel like it's one load. But Allah says, Allah has made it easy. Right? So why would you see it as a big deal? People be like, how did you do it? How would I be? Are you a Muslim? No, come on. You just have to, so is it a good idea of being like 2 or 3 hafaz? And we can just ask them the way we just did now. How do they stay consistent, Muwaja, and when they were memorizing to how were they able to attain that level of mashallah?
Mashallah. On this note, we have come to the end of this discussion. Alhamdulillah for making it a very wonderful and a very beneficial discussion. May Allah make it to be a continuously beneficial discussion for all of us. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
إسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن، بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن.